Welcome to another edition of Taking the Lead. I'm Lisa LaRocca. You're about to meet a woman who was born into a football dynasty. Now imagine being one of 11 siblings in the family business. That's about as male-dominated as you can get. So how do you find your voice and take the lead? Now I'll give you a little hint about the team. Thanks to these guys, Tom Brady has a few less Super Bowl rings. The New York Football Giants, one of the most storied teams in the history of the National Football League. Y.A. Tittle, Frank Gifford, Lawrence Taylor, Eli Manning, just a few of the legendary names to wear the team's uniform. But without the Mara family, there just might not be a Big Blue. In 1925, Tim Mara purchased the team for a mere $500. Today, the franchise is worth an estimated $3.2 billion. In 1959, the reins were handed to son Wellington Mara. And while running the Giants organization, Wellington and his wife Ann raised their 11 children in Westchester County.
I'm Ann Mara CACASE. I'm number 9. I'm a mom of 3. And I'm part of the Giants family.
Ann was born 9th in what she says is a very close-knit family of 7 girls and 4 boys. They grew up in White Plains, later moving to Rye.
We never had to have a play date. But it was great. We had our own little football team.
Laying the groundwork for the 3rd generation of the Mara family to strengthen a football dynasty. Just weeks before the coronavirus pandemic broke out, we met up with Ann at the Quest Diagnostic Training Center in East Rutherford, New Jersey. This is the practice facility for the New York Giants. Ann says, growing up, Giants football was a major part of family life. Touchdown, New York! And it is to this day. Older brother John Mara serves as president, CEO, and co-owner of the team alongside chairman, co-owner, and executive vice president Stephen Tisch. All 11 Mara siblings, including Ann, share equal ownership of the team.
And we grew up in a football field and we grew up in the NFL. We started our day like on a Sunday where we all went to church in the morning, came home, and my father would have a huge breakfast, and he would leave like 3 or 4 hours before the game by himself. And then my mom and us kids would go with her. And then we came out to Giant Stadium and we watched football. And you always knew what kind of Monday you were going to have, whether the Giants won or lose.
It's kind of that way in my house, too. As preparations for the 2020 football season were about to kick off, the coronavirus pandemic blindsided us all. Fans watched as NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell led a virtual draft from the basement of his Bronxville home. And in the wake of the virus, the Giants organization, like all teams, have had to make many adjustments to their facilities, as well as how they practice to keep players and staff safe. In addition, there have been some big changes for the G-Men. There's new head coach Joe Judge and his coaching staff, some creative picks during the draft, and perhaps the biggest change.
Wellington Mara always said, once a Giant, always a Giant. For me, it's only a Giant.
After 16 years as Big Blue's star quarterback, Eli Manning retired last season, giving Daniel Jones sole possession of the ball. Ann says everyone is rising up to meet the challenges.
You know, our players are at the stadium with the coaches. I think all of them, they're all stepping up, it seems like right now.
In addition to being a Giants owner, Ann and her husband, Tim CACASE, along with celebrity chef Rafael Ronca, opened the popular restaurant Rafael Rye 2 years ago in Rye. The partners say the early days of the pandemic were filled with uncertainty.
Gotten a lot stronger since then.
Both Tim and Chef Rafael talked about closing, but it was Ann who took the lead and insisted they stay open. Ann says during those first 3 months, they kept things running with about 6 people.
I'm not a good cook, but I had to learn how to make pizzas very quickly.
And when the partners saw a need within the community, they began delivering dinners to the staff at White Plains Hospital up to 3 times a week.
And it was like we were in the war. There was like 100, I get so upset when I think about this, 100 ambulances and people on gurneys and stuff, and the workers. And they were in those hazmat suits. And I'm telling you, it looked like we were in war. That's what, they were all on the sidewalks and people working on one another.
The three also had to work quickly to change the restaurant to meet new safety guidelines. That meant 50% capacity inside. So they added a few tables out front and in about a day built this garden dining patio out back. Ann says it's been a tough storm to weather, but between the strength of the restaurant staff, the community, and her upbringing, she knew they'd pull through.
I knew we were going to make it because we're all so strong. We have a strong team here, and this is a small community. And I've lived here all my life, so I knew people were going to come back.
Ann is named after her mother, who she calls one of her biggest role models. Ann T. Mara was the strong matriarch of 11 children, 44 grandchildren, including actresses Kate and Rooney Mara, and more than 24 great-grandchildren. Known as the First Lady of Football, she had a reputation for being a real Spitfire. She famously took on beloved Hall of Fame quarterback Terry Bradshaw on live television after the Giants had beaten the San Francisco 49ers in the 2012 NFC Championship game.
I know, I'm tired. I'm sorry. I'm getting hammered for not picking the Giants.
I will never forget that because we were all in there with her. And I think it was Brandon Jacobs who picked her up and put her on the stage. You never knew what was going to come out of my mom's mouth. She just said it the way it was.
The New York Giants hold 4 Super Bowl titles, but perhaps the most memorable was in 2008. Big Blue delivered one of the greatest upsets in Super Bowl history by defying the odds and beating Tom Brady and the undefeated New England Patriots. After the game, Mrs. Mara walked onto the Patriots bus to speak with tough head coach Bill Belichick, who once served as the Giants' defensive coordinator.
He was sitting on the bus, and all of a sudden my mother walks away from my sisters and I, and we're like, where is she going? She gets on the Patriots bus, but she was very polite. She said, good game, you know. And he got up and said, Mrs. Mara, you know, great game, congratulations. But you never knew. We all stood outside saying, oh God, what is she saying in there?
The Mara family plays a huge role in the history of football. Ann's father, Wellington, was nicknamed the Duke. The NFL football is named the Duke in his honor.
Dad obviously wanted to win. They both were so old school, and they just wanted to make an environment, a happy environment for their staff.
Ann says growing up in this family makes for some interesting stories, like the time legendary Hall of Fame coach Vince Lombardi, the guy the Super Bowl trophy is named after, also godfather to one of Ann's older brothers, came to stay at their house.
My mom was very, very good friends with Vince Lombardi's wife, and they were all married at the same time, and actually Vince Lombardi slept on my father's couch. He said he wanted to sleep there for one night. He had gotten an argument with his wife. And my mother said, okay, if it's just one night. I think he was there like 2 weeks. My mom was like, is he ever gonna leave?
Ann admits owning a professional football team certainly has its perks, but it's not a glamorous hobby as some may think. In reality, she says, it's a tough year-round business that takes a great deal of hard work. Ann says her parents tried to instill a strong work ethic in all 11 children who were raised in a strict Catholic household. She says everyone understood spoiled bad behavior was simply not tolerated, and she credits her upbringing to who she and her siblings are today.
My father used to say to us, to whom much is given, much is required. My parents were definitely my heroes. And my mom was a leader, my father was a leader. I think because they showed us by example every day on respecting life and being kind and how kindness can make such a difference in someone's life. My mom always used to, and my dad always used to say to us, don't be a follower, be a leader. Don't be a watcher or count what everybody else has. You have to be happy with what you have, and then you won't have any problems in life.
Witnessing a champ in the making, fueled by your passion for greatness.
Ann says while she, of course, is a proud owner of the New York Giants and supports her team, she didn't want to go into the family business. although she and her siblings continue to carry on her late parents' charities. Plus, Ann says having Mara for a last name doesn't guarantee a job with the Giants organization. She says her father created the rule years ago that continues to this day. If you want to work here, you have to earn the spot, just like anyone else.
If you're interested in something, being a scout or whatever, you have to go out 6 or 7 years and prove yourself. And then if there's an opening in that department, you have to interview whoever is the head of that department. And I think it's a good rule because there is so many of us.
And with so many as equal owners, Ann and her 10 siblings have meetings about the family business.
John just goes over, the year and stuff like that. Just wants to keep everybody on page. It's kind of nice to have all 11 of us there. And then he always asks if anyone has any concerns or anything. But we do talk about what charities and what we have to do.
When he says concerns, do you also say, all right, listen, there's a player you need to look at and we need to get him on our team?
It depends if we've won the Sunday before or not. We always know what to say.
So if there's a family meeting and we're coming off of a loss, tiptoe around.
Tiptoe. I try to keep my mouth shut.
Still ahead.
I grew up around First Street and Johnson Street, which is a pretty dangerous part of Newburgh.
This school actually saved me.
See how Ann keeps her mother's legacy alive by taking the lead at a Hudson Valley school for at-risk boys.